My wife was cheating. I found out, packed a bag that night, and bolted. I wasn't going to be that guy. It all blew up when a message request popped up on my phone. I accepted, and there they were, a picture of her tangled up with him. I called her, but her stepbrother answered. Caleb, hey, Vivian's asleep, what's up? I stared at the candlelit dinner I'd painstakingly prepared on our kitchen island. The whole scene was suddenly a cruel joke. That same night, I was on a red-eye flight heading out west. I never thought I'd be back in New York City for anything other than a layover. But 3 years later, certain obligations pulled me back. The Starlight Room, Midtown Manhattan, a glittering affair packed with the city's business elite. The air hummed with hushed conversations and the soft strains of a grand piano. I scanned the crowd, a familiar knot tightening in my stomach until my eyes locked with hers. Vivian. It's been a while. Ethan Miller. She wore a black evening gown, minimalist but for the subtle shimmer of diamond chips scattered across the bodice and along the hem of the skirt. A black swan, elegant and imposing. The click of her heels on the marble floor was the only sound as she moved towards me. I'd steeled myself for this moment, imagined a storm of emotions, but seeing her again, it was surprisingly muted. 3 years, not a lifetime, but long enough to change a man, long enough to erode mountains. Well, now, Mr. Miller. A portly man with a flushed face and an expensive, slightly too tight suit materialized beside me. You know Miss Sterling? A bitter laugh almost escaped me. Did I know her? She was, after all, still legally my wife. Not that you'd know it. In 7 years of marriage, she'd never once brought me to these glittering galas, never introduced me in her rarefied social circle. Even standing side by side, few would have guessed the connection. What a fortunate coincidence, the man boomed, oblivious. If I recall, Sterling Industries has been shifting its focus these past few years, a direction that aligns perfectly with your research, Mr. Miller. He leaned in, his breath smelling of expensive scotch. Imagine Sterling's resources combined with your breakthroughs. A powerhouse partnership, that's what it would be. He lowered his voice conspiratorially. Heard the project out west was a massive success. You were instrumental, they say. He wasn't wrong. I'd left New York 3 years ago, burying myself in research at a remote facility. The project had finally cleared phase trials. My team was probably still celebrating back at the lab. I'd flown back to New York to tie up some loose ends, this event being one of them. You're too kind, I said, finally finding my voice. Scientific breakthroughs are the result of countless individuals. My contribution was minor. Oh, Mr. Miller, no need for false modesty, he simpered, nodding eagerly. He gestured with his champagne flute. Take a look around. Many of these titans of industry, these influential figures, they're here tonight specifically for you. Indeed, I noticed several heads turn our way, polite smiles, a few raised glasses, and a silent toast. Mr. Miller, Vivian's cool voice cut in, her eyes unreadable. Don't tell me Sterling Industries isn't up to your standards. Still the same Vivian. Every word, every gesture carried an unspoken command, an absolute certainty that I couldn't refuse her. 7 years ago, I desperately wanted to join Sterling Industries, but she'd shut me down. Wrong background, she'd said. Besides, the family needed someone at home. I loved her then, enough to shelve my own ambitions, to walk away from a burgeoning career. Also, I could be there for her, for our daughter, Maya. She'd soar, of course. Sterling Industries became a corporate titan, a dominant force in the New York business world. The price? She came home later and later. My calls increasingly went to voicemail. The person you're calling is unavailable. Please try again later. Well, if it isn't my favorite brother-in-law. I didn't even need to look. I knew that voice, laced with its usual sneer. Caleb Vance. Ethan Miller, he drawled, eyes narrowed in a blatant challenge. You vanished off the face of the earth for 3 years. No calls, no texts. We almost thought you were dead. What brings you crawling back now? As he spoke, a faint, cloying scent of expensive cologne and something else, something rotten, drifted towards me. I fought the urge to wrinkle my nose. His voice, louder than necessary, had drawn attention. Curious glances flickered our way from across the room. What are you doing here? I kept my voice low but firm. This conversation doesn't concern you. Oh, but it does. I'm just here to welcome back my dear brother-in-law. When I didn't rise to the bait, he pressed on, waving his smartphone in my face. Memory a little fuzzy after all this time? Need a little reminder of why you ran off. That did it. My fist connected with his jaw, a satisfying crack. I shook out my hand. That was 3 years overdue. Then I turned to Vivian, my voice like ice. Get the divorce papers ready, and keep your attack dog on a leash. Caleb, scrambling up from the floor, lunged at me, but Vivian grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Not to protect me, I knew. The guest list for the Starlight Room was a who's who of New York society. She wouldn't want Sterling Industries splashed across the tabloids with a sordid scandal. You just wait. Caleb snarled, but Vivian was already dragging him towards the exit. Viv, he muttered, not struggling further. She shot him a look. Then her gaze snapped back to me, that familiar imperious tone returning. Ethan, find a quiet spot and wait for me. We need to discuss the collaboration. With that, she steered her fuming stepbrother away. By the time I looked again, they were gone. Mr. Miller, the portly man from earlier stammered, his face a mask of awkwardness. Your, relationship seemed rather complex. Ahem. When I didn't respond, he wisely drifted off to mingle with other guests. My phone buzzed, a crisp, professional voice on the other end. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan Miller? Yes, speaking. Mr. Miller, this is Ms. Peterson from Bright Horizons Preschool. Are you the guardian of Lily Miller? A jolt went through me at her name. Yes, I am. Is Lily okay? Has something happened? From the other end, I could hear faint, muffled sobs. Well, Mr. Miller, would you be able to come to the preschool? Lily was involved in an altercation with another child, and the situation is a little delicate. I broke every speed limit getting to Bright Horizons. I spotted them immediately. 2 small girls, maybe 5 or 6 years old. One was Lily, my Lily, tear tracks still wet on her face, her small shoulders shaking. Beside her stood another little girl, decked out in a frilly princess dress, arms crossed, staring defiantly. Oh, please, stop faking it, okay? The princess said, her voice dripping with disdain. Then she turned to the anxious teacher, Miss Peterson, her tone instantly wheedling. Miss Peterson, see? I just wanted to play with her. It was an accident. She's just a big crybaby. My blood ran cold when I heard that little girl's voice. It couldn't be her. My mind reeled, but Lily's distress was paramount. I hurried over. Oh, Mr. Miller, you're finally here. Miss Peterson wrung her hands. Please see what's going on with Lily. Lily was crouched on the ground, a tiny, miserable ball. My heart clenched. Daddy. 2 voices, small and high-pitched, spoke at once. Lily's was barely a whisper. The other, the one belonging to the little princess, was sharp with disbelief. I glanced at the aggressor. The imperious air she'd worn moments ago had vanished. Her small body seemed frozen, but she'd heard Lily call me daddy. Instantly, her bravado returned. She jabbed a finger at Lily. You liar. You're a liar. He's my daddy. The little girl stomped forward, leg drawn back to kick Lily. I scooped Lily into my arms just in time. Daddy, why are you holding her? The princess shrieked, her face contorted with outrage. I'm your daughter. My head was spinning. I looked down at Lily nestled in my arms. Her lips had a faint bluish tinge, her face flushed. Lily had a congenital heart condition. The confrontation had clearly terrified her. She didn't look good at all. Lily, sweetie, don't be scared. Daddy's here. We're going to hospital. I soothed her as best I could, turning to rush her out. Miss Peterson called after me. Lily's dad. Wait. Maya's mom said she'll bring her to the hospital to check on Lily. Maya. So that was her name. The emergency room light glowed an ominous red. I paced, lit a cigarette, then remembered where I was and stubbed it out, muttering a prayer for Lily. It felt like an eternity before Vivian arrived, Maya in tow. Vivian had changed from her evening gown into a sharp, camel-colored pantsuit. She radiated power and disapproval. Without a word, she strode up to me and slapped me hard across the face. Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you? Siding with an outsider against your own daughter. The same old Vivian. Years ago, I'd excused her temper, blaming work stress. 3 years apart, and she hadn't changed one bit. Maya tugged at Vivian's hand. Mommy, that stray kid said my daddy was her daddy. Vivian's eyes, cold and questioning, fixed on me. Aren't you going to explain yourself? Explain what? It's been 3 years, Vivian. For all intents and purposes, our marriage has been over for that long. Your daughter assaulted my daughter. I don't want it happening again. Vivian must have already gotten the teacher's version, yet she could still stand there, righteous and accusing. Vivian stared, momentarily speechless. You have a daughter? I didn't answer her directly. And you? Aren't you living your happily ever after with your dear stepbrother? A flicker of something, relief, crossed Vivian's face. She probably thought I was still jealous. Now that you're back, Ethan, we can make this work. The past few years Maya has missed you terribly. Come home, for our daughter's sake. Family of Lily Miller. A doctor's voice echoed down the sterile hallway. That's me, doctor. How is she? The child is stable, but you'll need to be careful going forward. Avoid any major emotional distress. Relief washed over me. Lily, her eyes still red-rimmed, whispered, Daddy, I'm sorry I caused you trouble. Her small voice made my heart ache even more. I pulled her into a tight hug. Suddenly, Maya, who had been standing silently beside Vivian, erupted. She threw herself on my legs, wailing, Daddy, don't you know me? I'm your daughter. You said you love me best. Daddy, you're a big fat liar. Her cries catapulted me back 3 years. I'd been walking down the street and saw Maya, who was supposed to be at her early learning program. Caleb was holding her, feeding her fries and a greasy burger. What are you doing giving her that junk? I demanded. What's the big deal? Kids like it. She has a sensitive stomach. She can't eat oily food. Maya, sweetie, come to Daddy. No, I don't want Daddy. I want Uncle Caleb. I love Uncle Caleb best. I hate Daddy. She clung to Caleb, her face red and tear-streaked. I stood there, utterly lost. Caleb had smirked. See what a failure? Your own daughter doesn't even like you. That was the first time I truly felt like a failure, and the blow had come from my own child. I'd always been a hard worker, driven, with a decent mind. Fate had smiled on me. I'd lived up to my family's hopes, aced my SATs, and gotten into a top research university, the first for my small town to do so. At 23, on the cusp of graduation, a prestigious research facility had already extended an offer, inviting me to join their team. The future felt limitless, every path paved with gold. Then I met Vivian. A chance encounter. I was heading back to campus and found her, clearly intoxicated, alone on a dark street. Worried for her safety, I got her a room at the nearest hotel. One look and I knew she was from a different world, a world of privilege I couldn't imagine. I figured that was that, but the next day she found me at the university. 2 parallel lines never meant to cross had suddenly intertwined. The watch she casually gifted me, a brand I didn't even recognize, made my roommates gasp. She took me to Michelin-starred restaurants I'd only read about, guided me through luxury department stores filled with things I couldn't afford. Sensing my financial constraints, she'd always laugh lightly when I reached for the bill, saying it was already taken care of. I thought fate was still on my side, that she was an angel sent from heaven. I was convinced it was love at first sight. Soon after, Vivian proposed marriage. I remember being so ecstatic that night, I didn't sleep a wink. We got married without even meeting each other's parents. I believe Vivian felt the same whirlwind passion for love as I did. It was only after we were married that I pieced together the fragments of her family story. Her mother had passed away. Her father remarried, and his new wife came with a son, Caleb, who everyone knew wasn't the father's biological child, despite the stepmother's claims. A DNA test didn't lie. Her father didn't divorce his new wife, but he was rarely home after that. The stepmother, embittered and resentful, took her frustrations out on Vivian. That was the environment she grew up in. As Vivian's father aged, the stepmother began her machinations to secure the family fortune. Vivian, desperate to prevent her inheritance from falling into a stranger's hands, needed to marry and marry fast. So it wasn't love. I just happened to be there when she happened to need a husband. That was all. But at the time, learning about her past didn't make me feel used. It made me pity her even more. I willingly gave up everything. My dreams, my career, my freedom, wanting only to fill the void of love in her life. A year or so into our marriage, Maya was born. She looked so much like Vivian. Unfortunately, she'd also inherited a certain arrogance, a lack of respect for others, that same regal air her mother carried. Wow! Maya's sobs pulled me from my reverie. She wiped her eyes. Daddy, I'm your daughter. She's just some little brat you found in a dumpster. Maya's found in a dumpster, twisted like a knife in my gut. I remembered when she was about 3. I'd taken her to visit my folks back in my hometown, a small rural place, a world away from the city lights and luxury she was accustomed to. She'd wrinkled her nose at everything. My mother, overjoyed to finally meet her granddaughter, had baked homemade cookies and pies, the kind made with old family recipes. They weren't fancy, no colorful frosting or glittery sprinkles. Maya wouldn't touch them. She'd push away the plate, sometimes even knocking it over, sending cookies scattering. When my mother tried to hug her, Maya would scream as if she were seeing a monster. My mom would just stand there, forcing a pained smile, looking like a child who'd been scolded. The place Maya disdained was where I grew up. The person she wouldn't let touch her was the woman who had raised me, my own mother. I rarely disciplined Maya, but I couldn't help but gently admonish her. Her response had shattered me. I don't want Grandma. Grandma looks dirty. Then her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Mommy said you were just someone she picked up from a bunch of homeless people, so you're dirty too, Daddy. That's why I like Uncle Caleb better. I want to go home to Uncle Caleb. Her words hit me like a physical blow. I was someone Vivian had picked up from the gutter. So, all those years she never truly respected me. Living with me, sharing a life, a child. Had this always been her private, contemptuous view? I can't describe the feeling. It was as if my entire sense of self, my pride, had been pulverized by a child's innocent, cruel fists. As if sensing the shift in my mood, the small figure nestled against me gently squeezed my hand. Daddy, Lily whispered. I'll always be here with you. You're such a good girl, Lilybug. I tried to smile. How about we get you a little cake on the way home? A flicker of longing crossed her face, but she shook her head, so considerate, always. In all the time I'd known her, she'd rarely asked for anything, terrified of being a bother. A child like Lily? How could she possibly instigate a fight? The more obedient she was, the more my heart ached for her. I took Lily's hand, ready to leave the sterile confines of the hospital. Ethan, wait. Vivian's voice, sharp and cold, stopped me as I passed. You need to tell me, this child, whose is she? Before she could finish, I clapped my hands over Lily's ears and met Vivian's gaze. I thought I made myself clear. She is my daughter. My voice was quiet but firm. And speaking of clarity, Vivian, we need to go to the courthouse. It's time to finalize the divorce. I said it calmly, as if discussing the weather. Vivian just stared, completely thrown. She had no idea what I'd been through these past 3 years, what had forged this new, unyielding resolve in me, or where this girl who looked to be 5 or 6 had suddenly materialized from. As I walked away, Lily's small hand tucked securely in mine, I heard Vivian's voice, sharp with disbelief, behind me, presumably talking to the doctor. Then louder, echoing down the corridor. Adopted? Are you kidding me? He'd abandoned his own flesh and blood for some stray. I drove Lily back to the apartment I was renting in the city. In a place like New York, where every square inch cost a fortune, I didn't own anything. The years I'd spent in Vivian's gilded cage, I'd poured all my energy into the family, not assets. One of the main reasons for my return was to legally end things with her. Anything she'd ever given me, I'd tally it up and return it down to the last cent. After that, I'd finalize Lily's adoption. Lily was old enough for kindergarten, nearly first grade. I'd take her back out west with me, find a good school near the research facility. If things went according to plan, I'd never set foot in this city again. After driving a few blocks, I glanced in the rearview mirror. A cherry red sports car had been tailing us since we left the hospital. Only one person I knew favored such an ostentatious color, Vivian. At the next light, I pulled over to the curb. Stay here, sweetie, I told Lily. Vivian's car screeched to a halt behind mine. She got out, Maya trailing reluctantly after her. Why are you following me? I asked, my voice flat. Ethan, where did you adopt that little, predictable? Something's never changed. I cut her off, weariness seeping into my tone. Vivian, you seem to have a lot of free time. The courthouse is probably still open. Why don't we go file those divorce papers right now? She flinched, genuinely shocked this time. It seemed the idea of me being so utterly resolute, so devoid of any hesitation when I said the word divorce, hadn't sunk in. What on earth has gotten into you? Her lips trembled. She was clearly looking at the same face she'd known for years, but the man standing before her was a stranger, a universe away from the compliant, adoring husband she remembered. I gave her no quarter. Looking at her face didn't even stir a flicker of disappointment in me anymore. What do you even? Spell out what you did, Vivian, in detail. Her eyes darted away at my words. Caleb? It's not what you think. After a brief, charged silence, she tightened her grip on Maya's hand. A new tactic formed. I don't have time today, she said slowly. And I have a business trip coming up. I don't know how long I'll be gone. As for what you mentioned, we could discuss it all when I get back. With that, she turned to Maya, gently pushing her forward. Her gaze flickered meaningfully towards my car, where Lily was visible through the window. Ethan, she said, her voice heavy with implication. Don't forget Maya is your biological daughter. While I'm away, I expect you to fulfill your responsibilities as a father. A humorless laugh welled up inside me. Fulfill my responsibilities? Hadn't I done that and more? I'd dedicated my entire life to our family, and what had I gotten in return? She'd trampled on it, betrayed our vows, and shacked up with her own stepbrother. Now that I'd finally achieved something on my own, she was desperate to drag me back into the domestic drama, using our daughter as bait. If I'm not mistaken, I said, my voice dangerously soft. Maya's been primarily raised by nannies these past few years, hasn't she? Vivian didn't deny it. I knew her game. So if your presence or absence makes no difference to her daily life, why force her on me now? That stung. Her face flushed with anger. She gestured towards my car, where Lily's small face was pressed against the rear window, watching us. Vivian, however, seemed oblivious to her. Ethan, her voice trembled with rage. You'd rather let nannies raise your own daughter while you play house with some child you picked up who isn't even your blood. Enough. My expression turned to stone. I looked her straight in the eye, enunciating each word. I'll say it one more time. Lily is my daughter. Vivian shook, a mixture of fury and shock. She'd probably never seen me like this. Her lips moved, but no words came out. She spun on her heel, got in her car, and sped off, leaving Maya standing by my leg, looking up at me with wide, tear-filled eyes. A heel. My resolve wavered. She was, after all, my biological daughter. How could I truly abandon her? Vivian knew that, counted on it. In the years we were married, she'd quickly consolidated her power at Sterling Industries. There was no business trip she urgently needed to take. This was just her latest maneuver, dumping our spoiled, coddled daughter on me now that I was serious about divorce. I sighed. Come on. I patted Maya's shoulder and helped her into the car. Maya was uncharacteristically quiet during the drive. I caught Lily's reflection in the rearview mirror. She looked anxious, fidgeting with the hem of her shirt, clearly worried that Maya's arrival meant she was about to be discarded. I tried to offer a reassuring smile back. At my rental, Maya immediately looked out of place. It wasn't a huge apartment, but it was a decent 3-bedroom. Lily, at 6, had her own room. The master bedroom was mine, and the third I'd set up as a temporary office for work I needed to do for the research facility. Maya pointed at Lily's room. Daddy, I want that room. Maya, sweetie, that's Lily's room. How about I fix up the room next door for you? It's just like Lily's. I gestured to the office, but Maya was adamant. No, I want this one. She shot Lily a triumphant, challenging look, as if to prove I loved her more. Lily looked distressed, clearly not wanting to give up her room, but after a moment's hesitation she whispered, Daddy, it's okay. My sister can have this room. Maya's face lit up with a victorious smirk. My jaw tightened. Then an idea. All right, Maya, I said. You can have this room. Daddy's pretty tired tonight, so I don't feel like tidying up the other one. Lily can just camp out in my room with me for now. Lily's eyes widened, a delighted surprise chasing away her earlier anxiety. She hadn't expected this outcome. She was at that age where monsters still lurked in the dark, and she often wished she could sleep with a parent nearby, though she rarely asked, having been encouraged to sleep alone. But I knew that good, quiet kids deserved rewards too. It shouldn't always be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. Wah! Maya stood frozen, her victory dissolving. Ignoring her, I took Lily's hand and led her to my bedroom. I started to tuck her in, thinking she was drifting off, when she whispered, Daddy, is she really my sister? Her voice was small and tentative. She doesn't look like she likes me. Is she going to try and take you away from me? No way, Munchkin. I soothed, stroking her hair. Daddy's right here. I'll never, ever let anyone take you away. I don't know how long I sat there, gently patting her back, before she finally fell into a deep sleep. Just then, a soft knock came at the door. I tiptoed out. Maya was standing there, her eyes fixed past me on Lily, who was fast asleep, clutching a teddy bear. Then her gaze returned to mine, her lip trembling. "Daddy," she choked out, tears welling. "Please, please don't send me away." After the whirlwind of the day, I finally had a moment to really look at Maya. In the 3 years I'd been gone, she'd grown so much. Her features more and more resembled Vivian's. Maybe she truly had forgotten all those times she clung to Vivian, wrinkling her nose and calling me dirty. Her tearful plea brought back another wave of memories. I'd been a styrofoam dad back then. Maya had always been a delicate child, prone to illnesses. I learned to cook, researched endless recipes, all to build up her health. During that time, I endured the snide remarks. Trophy husband, kept man. The whispers about me marrying up. But seeing Maya get stronger, healthier, made it all seem worthwhile. What I didn't know then was that those were some of the last truly happy moments we'd have as a family. Then Caleb Vance arrived. As Vivian's stepbrother, he moved into our home, bold as brass, and Vivian started taking him out with her everywhere. Client dinners, industry events, late-night drinks. I voiced my discomfort. Vivian brushed me off, called me petty, insisted he was just her brother. But we both knew the truth. There was no blood tie between them. As their sibling bond grew closer, they became less and less discreet, even in front of me. More alarmingly, Maya grew increasingly attached to him. I tried to get her to eat her vegetables, to maintain a healthy diet, but her Uncle Caleb indulged her every whim, often giving her treats and junk food I knew were bad for her. It culminated one day when Maya came down with a raging fever, vomiting, diarrhea. The hospital confirmed it was food poisoning. Standing in that sterile hospital corridor, I finally snapped and punched Caleb. Vivian, when she saw, didn't show a shred of concern for Maya. Instead, she turned on me, accusing me of being impulsive. Even Maya, delirious with fever, clung to Caleb's shirt, whimpering, "I don't want Daddy. I want Uncle." In that moment, I felt completely redundant, as if they were the real family and I was just an inconvenient outsider. Maya stayed with me for a while. At first, she constantly vied with Lily for my attention, even squabbling over food at mealtimes. But I patiently, consistently guided her. Eventually, Maya realized her tantrums and demands weren't getting her what she wanted. In fact, they usually made me lean more towards Lily. Gradually, she settled down, and her interactions with Lily became surprisingly harmonious. It almost seemed like I was getting used to having two daughters. During this period, I had frequent video conferences with the research facility, online brainstorming sessions with my team. My colleagues, seeing Maya in addition to Lily, often remarked on how lucky I was to have such a pair of treasures. But I knew this precarious peace couldn't last. I kept trying to contact Vivian, urging her to come back and finalize the divorce, but she'd vanished again. Finally, after 2 weeks of her supposed business trip, she answered her phone. She agreed to pick Maya up the next morning. Maya was clearly unhappy about it, but as the groom's successor to Sterling Industries, she'd learned from a young age that she couldn't always have her way. Honestly, I could fulfill my duties as her father, but I knew deep down I couldn't truly love her anymore, not in the way I once had. As for Vivian, when she arrived to pick up Maya, her car was loaded with luggage. She was dressed casually, looking ready for a long journey. She exchanged a few words with Maya. Maya, who had been moping, suddenly brightened, her face splitting into a wide grin. She brandished a bright red scarf, waving it at me excitedly. Daddy, let's go visit Grandma's house. I haven't seen Grandma in ages. Grandma must miss me so much." Then Maya ran over, scarf still in hand, beaming. "Daddy, look. Mommy said I should bring this gift for Grandma." My heart twisted. I understood instantly, but a lump formed in my throat, and I couldn't speak. Seeing my silence, Maya's smile faltered, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "Daddy, don't you like it? I can give Grandma something else, Daddy." I still couldn't find my voice. The words were stuck. Vivian, witnessing this, bristled. "Ethan, honestly, we haven't seen your mother in years because you weren't back. Now that you are, we can visit her often. We can even have her come stay with us. Why are you upsetting the child like this?" 3 years, and she still knew exactly which buttons to push. Before I left, I'd suggested countless times that we bring my aging parents to live closer to us, or at least help them more. Vivian had always found an excuse to refuse, and now she was offering it up so casually. Too little, too late. Everything was too late. Lily, seeing the red scarf and the turmoil on my face, did something uncharacteristically bold. She darted forward, snatched the scarf from Maya's hand, and threw it onto the floor. Maya, spoiled and pampered, had never experienced such a slight. You nasty little kid. How dare you throw my things? She lunged at Lily, ready to strike. I quickly stepped between them, shielding Lily. From behind me, Lily poked her head out, her small voice clear and surprisingly steady. Grandpa and Grandma, they already went up to be stars in the sky. They wouldn't want your stupid old scarf. What? Vivian's reaction was one of pure shock. She understood perfectly well what became stars meant. She passed away? When did this happen? Why didn't I know? A bitter laugh escaped me. I took a deep breath, trying to control the tremor in my voice. Oh, you didn't know? The day Caleb sent me that video of the two of you in bed? Didn't I call you over and over again? What video? Vivian looked genuinely confused. My mind flashed back 3 years. I remember I was meticulously planning a surprise for our wedding anniversary. Then the call came from my hometown. My mother was gone. They needed me back immediately. I sat there numb until I felt a dampness on my hand and realized tears were streaming down my face. I was almost glad I'd arranged for my secretary to take Maya for the day so Vivian and I could have some us time. In my current state, I couldn't guarantee I wouldn't fall apart in front of our daughter. All I wanted was to get home to see my mother one last time. I booked the fastest flight, rushing to the airport. On the way, I kept calling Vivian, trying to remind her to pick up Maya. Call after call went unanswered. Finally, Caleb picked up. Hey, Ethan, what's up, man? His voice was casual, almost bored. Viv? She's crashed out, dead to the world. A moment later, a video message arrived from him. Vivian, face flushed, bare shoulders exposed above the rumpled sheets. The world tilted. My mother's death, my wife's betrayal, it was too much. In that instant, something inside me died. I sent Vivian a single text. When I get back, we're getting a divorce. After I left New York, Vivian apparently tried to contact me relentlessly. She must have panicked. I dealt with my mother's funeral and drifted through the following weeks in a haze. Sometime later, I was visiting my parents' graves up in the mountains when a sudden mudslide hit. Lily's parents, strangers I'd only just met on the trail, pushed me towards the only escape route, sacrificing themselves. Their last words were a plea for me to take care of their daughter. When little Lily, trembling and terrified, called me daddy for the first time, it was like a lifeline. I found a reason to live again. With Lily by my side, I slowly pieced myself back together. I applied to a major research facility out west. My Ivy League credentials, even with the lost years, were enough to give me a chance. I threw myself into my work. The memories flickered past like a badly edited film. I looked at Vivian's panicked face, her carefully constructed composure finally cracking. It's all in the past, Vivian, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Let's just get the divorce over with quickly. She suddenly grabbed my hand, her grip desperate. Ethan, can't we go back to how things were? Vivian, I said, gently extricating my hand. You know that's impossible. But what about Maya? Her voice rose, laced with desperation. Are you going to let her spend her whole life being pitted, being called the girl without a father? I reached in my jacket pocket and pulled out a bank card. This card settles all the accounts from these past years. Everything is clear. I was always going to give it all back to you. Now it's done. We don't owe each other anything. Vivian stared at the card in her hand as if it were a snake. I took Lily's hand and turned back towards my apartment. The divorce was finalized on the day Vivian insisted she and Caleb had never really been anything serious. She even said she was going to try and win me back. This time, I was the first one to walk away from the courthouse. I genuinely didn't care about her and Caleb anymore. Only she seemed to be stuck in that past. Lily's adoption papers also went through smoothly. I gave her a new middle name, Lily Grace Miller. Grace for the kindness that brought her into my life, the grace that saved me. It sounded right. On the long drive back out west with Lily, a news bulletin interrupted the music on the radio. Caleb Vance, alleged illegitimate son of Sterling Industries former chairman Arthur Sterling, has been arrested by federal authorities in connection with a major drug trafficking ring. In a statement released moments ago, Arthur Sterling vehemently denied Vance was his son and announced the transfer of all his remaining company shares to his daughter, Vivian Sterling. Vivian Sterling is now the majority shareholder and undisputed head of Sterling Industries. A slow smile spread across my face. I looked out at the vast, open highway stretching before us. Vivian, I murmured, consider this my final gift to you. I reached over and changed the station, and a bright, upbeat melody filled the car. Epilogue, Vivian Sterling's POV. My name is Vivian Sterling. My mother used to say my birth name meant snow because I was born on a fiercely cold, snowy day. Caleb Vance and I were never blood related, not really. He was my stepbrother. My maternal grandfather, the founder of Sterling Industries, passed away when I was 10. The company passed to my father. The very next day, father brought home a new woman and a boy about my age. This is Ms. Connor. She'll be your new mother. And this is your brother, Caleb. Father's forced smile didn't last long. Soon after, a DNA test confirmed his suspicions. To think I've been raising some damned bastard all these years, he'd rage. After that, he was rarely home. My stepmother, bitter and resentful, took her frustrations out on me with sharp words and sharper slaps. It was Caleb, surprisingly, who started to intervene to shield me. I'm your sister, I'd hiss at him, confused by his protectiveness. Not by blood, he'd retort with a smirk. And just like that, a naive, lonely teenage girl tumbled into what she thought was love. When father found out, he was apoplectic. Caleb was shipped off to a boarding school overseas. I was paraded through an endless series of disastrous blind dates with suitable young men. One night, after too much champagne at some dreadful charity ball, I stumbled out, drunk and miserable. That's when I met Ethan Miller. He was kind, concerned. He got me to a hotel room, and then just vanished. I was intrigued. I got his information from the hotel registry and tracked him down to his university. A scholarship kid from the wrong side of the tracks, but a certified research genius. He was exactly what I needed. With my family's wealth and connections, I pursued him relentlessly. We were married in a whirlwind. After the wedding, he became my secret weapon. His sharp intellect helped me navigate complex deals, secure major projects. He helped me solidify my position at Sterling Industries, proving I was more than just the owner's daughter. And somewhere amidst the business strategies and late-night work sessions, I started to genuinely fall in love with him. 3 years into our marriage, our beautiful Maya was born. To care for us, Ethan gave up his own promising career, becoming a stay-at-home father. But when he later expressed a desire to join Sterling Industries officially, I panicked. He was too brilliant, too capable. I was terrified the company wouldn't be enough to hold him, terrified he'd outgrow me, leave me. He loved me enough then to agree to my unreasonable demands, to stay in the background. Life could have been perfect, just like that, forever. But then Caleb came back. The day he returned from overseas, he showed up on our doorstep. Viv, come on. I got nowhere else to go. You wouldn't make me sleep on the streets, would you? My heart softened. He begged me to help him find a respectable job, so I took him under my wing at Sterling, intending to mentor him. One evening, after a few too many drinks at a client event, Caleb cornered me by our front door. Sister, he murmured, his breath warm on my neck. You still have feelings for me, don't you? I only think of you as my brother, Caleb, I insisted, pushing him away. When I opened the door, Ethan was standing right there. I wanted to explain, but he just gently touched my hair and said, I trust you, Viv. Not long after, Ethan had to go away for 3 or 4 months, working tirelessly to secure a crucial project for me, for Sterling. I threw myself into work, admittedly neglecting Maya's upbringing more than I should have. That's when she started clinging to Caleb, even saying, I want uncle. I don't want daddy. I saw the light dim in Ethan's eyes then. I felt a pang of guilt, a flicker of regret, but I've always been too proud, too inept at offering comfort. I planned a lavish surprise for our upcoming anniversary, hoping to make things right. But on the night of our anniversary, before I could even present my gift, Caleb handed me a glass of water. I drank it. The next thing I knew, I was waking up, the morning sun blinding me. My phone showed over a dozen missed calls from Ethan. Panic seized me. Caleb said I'd been exhausted and fallen asleep, that he'd silenced my phone so I wouldn't be disturbed. I called Ethan frantically, again and again, but he never picked up. I had lost him. When we met again 3 years later, and I saw how successful he'd become on his own terms, a genuine happiness bloomed in my chest for him. But he looked at me as if I were a stranger, his eyes cold. When he mentioned the video, I hired private investigators. They uncovered everything. The deceptively edited video Caleb had sent Ethan that night. The truth that Caleb had only ever pursued me under his mother's, my stepmother's, explicit instructions, all part of a long con to get their hands on Sterling Industries. My stepmother, it turned out, had some hold over my father, threatening him with the ruin of my late mother's original company if he didn't protect Caleb. We divorced. Ethan said he wanted his freedom. He left, heading back to his beloved research out west. When I heard the news about Caleb's arrest, I knew only Ethan, with his incisive mind and quiet determination, could have unearthed evidence that damning. After settling affairs at Sterling Industries, making sure everything was secure, I packed a bag for myself and Maya. We boarded a train heading west. "Mommy," Maya asked, her small hand in mine, "are we going to find Daddy?" I looked out at the passing landscape, a vast, uncertain future stretching before us. "Maybe, sweetheart," I said. "Maybe."